What's going on, guys? It's Justice here, and today I'm going to cover the topic of Eternal Runecrafting as a training method. There are so many different variables here to cover, different factors to consider, whether this feels good or feels bad. These factors could include literally proteinscape, with all the different proteins that exist and how that impacts the skilling kind of XP rates and economy and just how it feels in general, doing skilling outside of double XP weekends, for example. And I do factor that in a little bit. It also includes a debate around how AFK a skilling method should be, right? And sort of on that spectrum, if you were going to draw like a spectrum or a line from like fully AFK all the way to fully active, like where should a skilling method sit on that line? And I think some of this Eternal Runecrafting sits smack bang kind of like in the middle in like a semi-AFK state, and I'll go into that later as well. But first, let's just cover off what is this runecrafting method really quickly. So what I'm going to hone in on here is the kind of fully AFK method, right? And just kind of look at that a little bit and compare that against burial smithing. So the way this works is you would buy a ton of saturated staves, let's say, and put them in your inventory. You would then go to the ZMI altar and then stand there and destroy the staff by using it on the altar. This is about 3.5 minutes of pure AFK time. Then when you've sacrificed one staff, you will click the altar once again and it will move on to your next staff. So you have like effectively over an hour of AFK time clicking once every 3.5 minutes. Now that sounds pretty good as a training method. Is this viable though? Not really with current prices. Now, I want to focus this video on like how the methods feel as well, rather than just prices, because of course prices can change. It's just came out. Prices may or may not drop, but I really can't see many of these imbued weapons being runecrafted and coming into the game. Now, yeah, enough will, but not in a consistent rate, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Again, it's personal opinion. It's just I can't see myself personally using the Eternal Runecrafting method for like 250k XP an hour. Like I just can't see myself doing it because of the semi-AFK state that it's in. I'll go into that. I just don't think it feels quite right, and I don't think it's landed in the place I'd expect. So the cost of buying the Eternals to make the skill AFK currently is absolutely obscene. Not obscene in like a good way, like burial smithing. No, the XP rates are nowhere near that. You'll be spending billions upon billions to get to just 110 runecrafting, let alone 120. But let's move away from the prices again. They can change, and I don't know. I just feel like something isn't right there. So it isn't really a viable method right now. And so right now it's for the ultra rich. Even if you have the money, I still don't think it feels good to go and dump all of your money into that sort of XP rate. When you compare it against like money making methods right now in the game in terms of max GP per hour, and even when comparing against bonds and how that's like relative to 150 mil, let's say, in cash for one bond, 150 mil GP for one bond. Again, that depends on your IRL circumstances as well and how much you're willing to put into the game. So yes, you could also make the weapons yourself for a bit, right? And when you have more time to actively play, then sacrifice those weapons when you need to AFK. Now that concept sounds quite good, right? So you make those weapons yourself when you have time to actively play, and then you sacrifice the weapons when you need time to AFK. That sounds okay. Guess where the problem is? It takes a flipping long time to go and make those weapons and get them all the way through to the saturated state. And even if you're going to do that at the state before saturated, I'm pretty certain there's not going to be enough coming onto the market, and they're probably going to be expensive anyway if you can sell them at that state. So again, I might be missing something here, but that's just how I'm looking at it at the moment. But I think as like a fully Iron Man kind of method there, it sounds quite good. The problem is it just takes too long to make those weapons in the first place to get them to that saturated state. And the method of doing that is not AFK. Okay, that's another problem with it. So I can't see many people even using the imbue weapon crafting method after the completionist requirement, as it's only a semi-AFK method. You're getting significantly less XP per hour as well. Let's say at least half the XP that you would be getting if you were altar running, right? To craft the runes, to craft runes. It's pretty chill to do, but it's in that awkward middle ground where you can't fully AFK it and do something else. Yeah, you can chat to your mates, maybe you could watch a movie just about, but it's not fully AFK, like you can't work whilst doing it, right? It's also not the most engaging content, you know, for like having to pay attention. There's no like obvious cue that you're running out of runes, for example. So that's obviously an easy hotfix they could apply to improve the kind of feeling of the skill. So you're stuck in this kind of awkward middle limbo ground, right? I'm a pretty strong believer that skill should be designed either as fully active or fully AFK, with AFK being defined as like a minimum of like 5 minutes, not having to click and staying in the same spot or similar area, so like a close proximity with minimal banking. Having a method in the middle just makes me frustrated because I'd rather either actively be playing the game with much higher XP rates or spend my GP to go fully AFK if it's balanced at a decent value for money. And again, even doing that, you may also just dump all that money and do it during double XP. So there is that factor as well. Also, protein essences are roughly the same XP per hour as this fully AFK method. Like, I think they fall short just about, but on double XP they don't, right? It's like over 1 mil an hour XP an hour, because I was doing some of that over the recent double XP weekend. So you're almost better just stocking up on those when they're on sale and then doing that method. But it's almost like a factor I've got to strip out of this video. You've got to almost ignore it, but we can't ignore it, can we? It's quite literally proteinscape. You know, I think this is another reason why mentally this method just feels underwhelming, going back to the title, because you can just wait for double experience weekend, churn out the skills during that time with proteins or other faster active methods. Proteins seem to have completely destroyed the skilling landscape in terms of XP rates and economy. I think the biggest gripe I have here is with the Eternal crafting method up to the saturated state, requiring pure essence, and so you're having to do the altar run. They've copied the smithing rework, but then tried to compromise it for runecrafting by forcing you to altar run to kind of keep that aesthetic, keep that kind of vibe of runecrafting. But then that doesn't make the activity AFK anymore, like the smithing rework. It's an odd one, and I hope UrgntJustice looks into it further, as it does feel a bit rushed. Just don't have a middle ground, I think, and also due to you not being able to make these weapons until 99 runecrafting, and the method only being semi-AFK with no real profit per hour and less XP than crafting runes, I really can't see many of these weapons coming into the game to make the full AFK method viable, where you sacrifice those saturated versions by ascending it. Overall, it doesn't really feel like a training method. It just feels like a kind of small content update to do with the skill, focused on, hey, go and make your eternal weapon set once, especially as it's a completionist requirement, but go and make it once. Then whenever you hit 110, hey, you can go, now that you've unlocked that achievement, you can go and make your masterwork staff, and then you're done with that part of the skill, with that very small part of the skill at that point. Am I missing something there? Please let me know in the comment section if you feel like I am missing something. I will happily remove this video or engage in the comments to see if there are other things I'm missing. But for now, it doesn't feel like it's landed at the right place, especially as someone who isn't even 110 runecrafting yet and was anticipating a really kind of cool or just a different way of training this skill. Considering this is RuneScape 3, like, I don't mind them evolving skills and changing and applying them. I don't mind that. Altar running could have been the fully active method. Eternal Runecrafting could have been the fully AFK method. It just doesn't feel like it's landed right. Just a quick reference back to the masterwork part. This is where I might be missing something, but obviously it's kind of redundant because you need 110 runecrafting for that anyway. And this video is focused on this as an actual training method, but I've not looked into the masterwork part, so maybe that's an area I'm missing. Maybe there's some crazy good XP there with making the masterwork kind of items, but then in order to make the masterwork item, you probably have to break down a load of other stuff, which costs money, so maybe I'm not missing something there. But either way, it doesn't matter because you need to get to 110 for that, right? So when they release an update like this, I don't know, there's not really any guiding path. Like, is the community figuring it out together? And that's fine. But it did feel a bit odd. Like, you just kind of logged in, and I've seen this from other people reviewing on videos. You kind of just log in and you're like, what do I do? Like, I know you press teleport and there was a hot fix. It was a glitch where people were just using the teleport in the calendar all day. So the last note with this being, you know, and I don't want to sound really ranty here. I know it's a fairly ranty video. But I did want to get across my opinion on this skill. So it's weird that you can only start doing this at max level when it would make sense to be able to craft lower tier variants of this weapon at a lower runecrafting level, right? To then being able to use that when you're training mage and when you're maging. This would help new players progress through their account in magic and runecrafting and make that progression more accessible, right? Which is what RuneScape 3 is kind of about, with being the modern variant of the game. So that bit doesn't quite make sense to me either. So those are my thoughts and opinions on the Eternal Runecrafting method that's just been released in the game. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe for future content and be notified of that if you click the bell. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Enjoy the update, I guess. That's what I would usually say at the end of my videos when I'm talking about an update. I'm not quite sure about this one. In terms of like not talking about the method, masterwork staff, we'll see how that lands. Yeah, obviously time spells have came out. Sorry, I don't want to completely gloss over that. Time spells are out. That's a whole different topic in its own right, and how that impacts magic, the magic style, the RNG aspect. How does that feel? That is something that's something I hope I find time to make a video around. But yeah, I just wanted to focus on the training method because, funnily enough, I am literally training runecrafting, looking at the master skill or achievement. So yeah, but thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.